Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this week's new episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. I'm Mr. BoomStick XL. This is Double Barrel Gaming, and we are here, man. We're here to talk about Xbox as always, as we do every Tuesday. Unfortunately, we got a lot of weeds to dig through on today's new episode. I mean, the last I don't know 4 days for Xbox. Man, it's been tough, both on the community side as well as just the actual Xbox side. Last week we were hit with some pretty disappointing news that both Starfield and Redfall were delayed for reasons that were not really expressed to us outside of, well, they need more time. And you know what? That is perfectly fine. We have seen many delays. I mean, Metroid Prime 4 for Nintendo is still vaporware. Breath of the Wild was delayed this year. We have a strong suspicion that God of War Ragnarok may see the delay bug, and it has a lot to do with working from home, which is a thing. COVID has wreaked its ugly head once again. And, well, unfortunately, you want to make games, but you also want to live, and you want to keep your family safe. So it's not a big deal if these games get delayed. We're all going to be better for it. The games are going to be better for it. But unfortunately, and I said this on the stream that I did the day it was announced, and I will say it again because I'm a man of my word. The way it was done was extremely disappointing. It felt like it had no weight to the way it was done. Simply update for Redfall and Starfield thumbnail. I'm still bothered by that, folks. I considering that Microsoft isn't an indie company, considering that they are one of the richest companies in the world. Xbox has become one of their biggest go-to brands. That kind of announcement needed someone to talk about it. It needed a face to go with it, and that face should have been Todd Howard. He should have got out there on stage or on a video speaking to us as fans, and he didn't. I thought that even to this day, the silence that has come out of Xbox with the lack of real, like empathy or explanation, has really bothered a lot of people in this community. I'm not personally going to get into some of the things that went on. There was a lot of fighting between people. I completely stayed out of social media. In fact, I completely, outside of maybe posting a picture of a pizza pie and a few other things, I stayed away from social media because it got really ugly. It got nasty, and I don't want no part of that. But we even seen in some aspects that there was some bullying going on, and that's something that Double Barrel Gaming and will not stand for. I think that everyone's entitled to their opinion. Certainly, you are responsible for what you say on the interwebs, and if you say something that is, people find to either be offensive or not a proper moment in time to say something, you're gonna get backlash. So usually. I have learned that when I'm going to tweet something, if I don't feel good about tweeting it, I just delete it before it goes out, before it gets sent. I feel that sometimes it's better just not to say things. But folks, we have a great show prepared for you today. We are down a significant amount of members. As you can see, it's literally just 3 of us right now. Box and Burger should be here, and N64 Josh hopefully will be arriving soon. Pong Soul is not here today, and Mav is taking care of some family business. His daughter is not feeling well, so we wish her the best, of course. But we're still going to drop some serious topics today. But before we get into that, let's welcome back Zemi Games, podcaster, YouTube channel creator, and now video game creator. What's going on, brother?
Nothing much, man. I've just been busy playing a ton of Fallout 4 here recently, and then
Nice.
Yeah, this Thursday, Vampire the Masquerade Swan Song comes out, and I'm actually really, really excited for that game. So, but yeah, man, just been relaxing, playing games. I'm continuing to work on the game Back to School. There's certain things that I just have to wait for that are kind of out of my control. But other than that, man, yeah, I've just been relaxing and having fun, man. So yeah, I'm super excited to hop back onto the Xbox Factor podcast. It definitely seems like you need me today. So
Yeah, no,
I'm
we
coming in
absolutely
hot.
did. We absolutely did, and we're happy to have you. And of course, making his way back here. Hopefully, he's had his spot of tea. VJ, brother, how you feeling?
Yeah, I'm good, Boom. Thanks for having me back on the show. And I'll tell you what, it's really nice to see all these sort of really pleasant messages in the chat, sort of greeting us this morning. So I just wanted to say, just a shout out to the chat, really, to say thank you so much. To making us feel welcome.
Yeah, no, we have an incredible chat. And I just want to throw a message in there, both Zemi and you, VJ. So, because I want to make you guys mods. Obviously, sometimes I miss some things, and I want to make sure that if there are any a-holes that find their way here, and there was one already, we had to ban him four times, I think it was. And I'm not going to mention names, but I would be remiss if I didn't say this. As a 51-year-old man who has had a very, very incredible career as a New York City police officer, and has really grown my YouTube channel in ways I never thought it would ever get to. I might get some backlash from what I'm about to say, but I have to say it. Bullying, like I said before, is unacceptable behavior. Whether that be coming to someone's chat, that means attacking someone on social media, it's unacceptable behavior. And I got to say that the person that was in here that had to get banned numerous times, what kind of life are you living that you have to come to someone's chat to be a complete D-bag? Like, I would really take the time that you have put into being here to try and sour the mood. Look in the mirror and ask, man, what are you doing with your life? Maybe you need to do some community service, give back a little bit, and maybe get on the right track. I don't know. But speaking of right tracks, making his way back after numerous times being out, and that's obviously family comes first. He was on vacation, and then of course his poor now 6-year-old son broke his arm, man. My God, I wanted to cry at that picture. Boxenberger, how the heck are you, brother? Welcome back.
Thank you, man. I missed you guys the last 2 weeks.
We missed the heck out of you as well.
Yeah, man. It's been a while now. So the last 2 shows, unfortunately, I couldn't make. Like you said, family issues. My son is doing a lot better. We were at the hospital.
You could tell in the pictures that you sent us.
Absolutely.
In the DM. He looks like a kid is supposed to look, and that's wonderful to see.
Yeah. He's doing a lot better. We were at the hospital today, and we got the great news. The doctor said his arm will recover completely. He broke it multiple times, and they were a little scared that the wrist might be stiff after the second surgery, but they said after the surgery in 4 weeks he will be back to normal. So
good.
I'm awesome. happy as hell, and I'm also excited to be here today again. I really missed chatting with you guys and with the community. I see already tons of awesome people in the chat, so can't wait for an awesome show here today.
Yeah, well, it's great to have you back. And listen, let's get into it. Obviously, we don't like negativity, but sometimes, you got to talk about things that are happening. And good friend of the program, good friend of this community, Idle Sloth, posted something this morning that I thought was worthy of an opening topic. And it leads to the question of what's really going on with Xbox first party. As we know, Playground Games has undertaken, I should say, a very hefty and lofty responsibility, and that was rebooting Fable. Now, Fable is an incredible Microsoft IP. It had a stellar trilogy. The third one, not as well received as 1 and 2, which 2 is still my favorite. But it was still a fantastic trilogy. It is an IP that Microsoft owns, that they wind up getting. Obviously, Lionhead created it, and unfortunately, Lionhead is no more. So they have taken on the responsibility of bringing us a third-person, story-driven fantasy romp, if you will, with, of course, some of the tropes that made Fable what it is. Chicken kicking, which is something that Zemi Games is going to be really known for. I bet there's going to be an achievement: kick a chicken 100 times, 10 points, and maybe
I'd get it.
Maybe
I'd hunt
Peter
it
gets
down.
involved. Hopefully, Peter doesn't get involved with that. But listen, as I was saying, Idle Sloth, friend of this program, good friend of this program, as a matter of fact. He posted something that makes me wonder how far away Fable actually is, and are we actually going to get a chance to see some gameplay this June 12th? And it looks like, folks, I don't think so. According to a job listing, the Playground Games is currently looking for a senior rendering engineer. And according to Idle Sloth, he says Fable is still at early stages of development. And he obviously he put the LinkedIn from where they're actually looking. And let's break this down.
Boom.
Yes,
I
sir.
have to jump in here. I just saw. I'm sorry. I really
Please,
just saw that.
jump in.
He followed up with a second post. Unfortunately, that was a mistake. That job listing was from 2019.
Oh, well, there you go. Okay, thank you for the correction. All right.
But it's still worth a discussion because if we look at it, boom, Fable has been in development openly since 2017. In fall 2017, Playground Games for the first time admitted that they are working on an action RPG. They didn't say they're working on Fable. They said, we are working on an action RPG and building up a second team. And in January 2017, we heard the rumor about Fable being handed over to a British developer, the IP. We didn't know that it was Playground at the time. But so that game has been in development for 5+ years now. So yeah, let's discuss this. Is it gonna be at the show this year?
Well, you know what? First of all, it's great to have you back, and thank you for the correction, because I didn't see that. And Idle Sloth,
I just saw it too. Either
phenomenal with doing that.
Yes.
Listen, if there's anyone that you should follow outside of everybody that comes onto this show, Idle Sloth is your guy. The guy knows his stuff. He is someone that I highly respect and thank, because a lot of the times I get a lot of information in my DM from him. But I do want to discuss Fable because it does. Look, I would be really lying to you if I didn't say publicly, and I know, again, I'm being honest. I know Microsoft listens to the show, and I'm extremely humbled for that. A little bit, the wind has been taken out of my sail a little bit for coming into June 12th. Now, are they going to blow our socks off? Well, it looks like they are. I have no doubt that they are going to outdo themselves. And Kay Asante had said something the other day that stuck with me, and he said that the boldness of the way that this was done, where it was just here these games are delayed with no real oomph to explain why, outside of them needing some time to make it right. He feels, and I agree with him, that Microsoft has something up their sleeves. What is that? I don't know, but I am going to be honest and tell you that the wind has been taken out of my sail a bit for leading up into the June 12th show. I was riding a very high wave, and then this news, not one game but two games, it sent a shockwaves through the Xbox community and a shockwaves of disappointment. Again, the delays are not the issue, right? I've said that before. Just delay the game. You do not want to put out a buggy mess, and that's fine. But now we hear, right? Now we're coming up with a question, right? Where is Fable? And thanks to Boxenberger, we know that the game has, in fact, been openly discussed as being in development since 2017. I'm no mathematician, folks. Just let me throw it out there. But that's 5 years, according to my math. And we do know, and we have to talk about this, Boxenberger, and I want to go to you first on this. They did say that we heard some rumors that the team itself was having some trouble with development because they've never done an open world game before.
Yeah.
And listen, I have to go back to Guerrilla Games when they came out with Horizon Zero Dawn. They took almost 6.5 years to release that game, and that's because that team was normally just used to first-person shooters. And look how the game came out. It's a modern-day masterpiece. Now,
Awesome.
some people may disagree with me, but I really do like Guerrilla Games, and I really do like Horizon as a franchise.
Yeah.
So the question now begs: we saw a CD trailer a couple of years ago, and now it's been a while. Boxenberg, do we see actual gameplay of Fable?
Yeah, that is a fantastic question. I mean, yeah, 5 years seems like a long time. And I would say that the game is fairly long in development, probably a 23 title. With all the delays, it could also very well be a 24 title. But of course, after 5 years, you should be able. The thing is that Xbox does not like to show gameplay in advance, especially far in advance. Remember the launch of the Series X? We haven't seen gameplay running on the Series X until 3 days before the launch of the console. Halo Infinite was probably that game what made them change their mind. They want to avoid that Greg situation again. So could they show something? Definitely. I would be surprised if the game wasn't far along in the development so that they have nothing to show. Will they, though? That is really a good question. I think it depends a little bit on what else they have to show. The thing with all the Xbox games right now is they have 20 announced or at least known Xbox first-party titles, but they have all been announced with CGI trailers, and you can do that for the first time when you officially announce a Fable reboot, like they did in 2020,
or Avowed even,
or Avowed in 2020 CGI trailer.
Yeah.
The second time you show that game, you cannot do a CGI trailer anymore. You have to show something in game, in engine, and that is really the question. We have heard the rumors that apparently every Xbox
all
first
23 studios submitted something. That's
submitted
right.
something. Yeah. So Playground Games apparently has submitted something, but that could also very well be a Forza Horizon 5 DLC. So I'm really not sure. It kind of depends on really what the other studios are going to show. Let me tell you this though. I think Xbox has two options for this showcase. They can either pull out a few surprises, and we're going to talk about some options later. I know it's in the title and the thumbnail. Yeah. We will talk about, could Wolfenstein 3, for instance, be there, or a Hellblade 2, or maybe even an Avowed. I don't know. We will talk about it later in the show. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, if they don't have that big surprise for this year, something that nobody expects, they kind of have to be this forward. Yeah, what's the proper phrasing? Forward thinking or forward showing. They have to do something to get the excitement really up. They can't do it if they don't show some gameplay for one of their biggest and most anticipated IPs, and that's definitely a Fable. That's a Hellblade. It's an Avowed, and maybe a Perfect Dark. So these are the big ones. The big quadruple a blockbusters, if you want to say it like that, yeah. And they have to show something from it. And since Fable is the one that is the longest in development, I think it is a good candidate. But I wouldn't place a bet on it, to be honest.
Yeah, look, I want to say this, and please chat. Express your opinions, because everyone's opinion here matters.
Absolutely.
The thing is this: Microsoft did such an amazing job last year, such an absolutely incredible job with their E3, that the show was a 10 out of 10. And just based on that information, leading into the June 12th show, they had a mountain to climb because they have to at least match. Most people, like myself, were expecting them to exceed it. Now, maybe that's too lofty. Maybe I'm setting myself up for disappointment. But with everything that they have in actual development, I say no. I say that I should expect them to bring the fire, if you will. And now that we have this monster news that literally was so big, it literally fractured the Xbox community for all of the wrong reasons.
And it's weird to see, because this is something I've always said about the Xbox community, that neither the PC community, nor the Nintendo, nor the PlayStation community has. The Xbox community has always been kind of united. You really felt the community.
Yes.
When you look at, for instance, the PC Master Race community, they are also arguing within their community about stuff. And you don't have that usually with the Xbox community. And I put up a Twitter post earlier today. I haven't seen the community this divided, to be honest, for a long time.
For quite some time. Yeah, it's been a minute for sure. And it's unfortunate to see, but
it is.
But what this delay does now, this delay does more than fracture the community, get people to be fighting, which really shouldn't. It's just games, man. And there really is so much to play. But what this does is put even more focus and eyes on Microsoft's show. It really does, because now people are seeing this train wreck of two of their biggest games that were supposed to carry them this entire 2022, right? Like when we started this year, what did I say? Please point. No one has to point me out, because I'm going to point myself out. What did I say? I said Xbox has 4 amazing games coming this year. I said that in the beginning of the year. I said they have Motorsport, which we still don't know, right? They have Redfall. They have Starfield, and of course the one forgotten game that no one ever brings up in a conversation is poor Deathloop. Yeah, it was out on the PlayStation 5, but a lot of people didn't.
Do you
play
really
that
think
game.
this comes out this year?
Yeah, they had it. Well, supposedly it was a year exclusivity. So if it can't,
nothing. See, the thing is, it's all supposedly, and nothing has been said officially. It hasn't even been confirmed officially that it's a timed exclusive. That's all rumors from the community, speculations. Everyone is assuming that, but there has been no word about whether it's actually a timed exclusive or how long that timed exclusivity deal is.
I'm pretty sure the timed exclusivity was for a year. That is from what we understand. Same thing with
what we all assume.
Tokyo.
Yeah.
So, but again, that's how I started the year, and I said if they can deliver those 4 games, plus all of their third-party deals and everything that they get into Xbox Game Pass, man, what a back-to-back banner year for Xbox. And now I sit back and I'm like, well, they announced it so abruptly. They did it in the worst way. I know, folks, I'm a broken record, but God damn it, I'm still really pissed about that. A thumbnail, like you expect me to do that? I don't have a group of people working for me. I'm podcasting out of the corner.
Even you would do it in a more classy way. Honestly,
absolutely. I'm sorry.
I've seen your reaction show. I listened to that while I was sitting in the waiting room of the hospital. Listen, so you had a great point there. If I may,
please,
add to this
elaborate.
One thing.
Now we're going to bring Zemi Games, who's smiling, so he has something smart to say.
Sure. I'm sorry to take. Man, I've missed this podcasting. I have so much to say. I'm sorry. It only takes a few seconds. See, you're absolutely right. They should have put out like a video statement or something. And in addition to that, they could have said one short statement like, listen, community, we know it's disappointing, but we have a surprise coming up at the big showcase. We have something. Just give us a hint. But the fact that they didn't do that is really either it's poor communication and bad marketing.
Which is their biggest Achilles heel. And you've talked about that on your show as well as this show and in your videos.
And they really don't have something. So it's either of the two, but I fully agree with you. The way how they did it isn't a class act. Yeah.
No. Zemi Games, let's bring you into the conversation. Let's reel this back, this madness back in. Try and put the genie back in the bottle, so to speak. But before we do, I got to thank a lot of people. Super chats have come in. First one of the day comes to us from Gamers Play HUD Zero, good friend of the program. He drops a $2 super chat and says, #gaming over bullying. Drop the toxic. Pick up a controller. Well said, my brother. Absolutely. There's no reason for toxicity. We are going to have an adult conversation today. We're going to hash out our feelings, and if you're enjoying the podcast, great. That's awesome. If you're not, I mean, I'm sorry to disappoint you. We come here every week to do this because we love Xbox. Hopefully, you'll hang around. Drawn TJ drops not one but two super chats. The first one of $2. He says, "Hey guys, good morning, people." Oh, he says, "Good morning. People need to stop crying." I mean, if you're being overly emotional, I would agree. There's no reason for tears. It's just games, and there's quite a lot to play. But people are entitled to have their feelings, and express them, as long as it's not, in a improper way, so to speak. Drawn TJ drops an additional a $20 super chat, and he says, "These games are delayed, not canceled. Plus, where the heck is the Forza Horizon expansion and the new 2022 cars? It's been 7 months and they have killed their fan base. It's just like the Halo situation. Does Xbox need new management?" Management we can speak in hypotheticals because we don't know what the inner management is. And I'm not comfortable, expressing that just yet. I have to find out why. Yeah, we're going to ask the question. And again, tomorrow night's primetime gaming is going to be a big one. Not only do we have OBM, or One Bad Mother from Xbox Era, joining us, we're going to be diving into some big topics regarding what Microsoft's plan B might be, and if they have one, and plus a few other interesting but current conversations. That show goes live on our new day, Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We hope you can join us. Don Otaku drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, "It's not a rumor. It was confirmed in the trailer." So I'm assuming he means Deathloop. So yes, so it is a 1-year exclusive. Thank you, Don, for that. But Zemi, let's get to Fable. If I were a betting kind of a guy, and I don't like to gamble, I would say that if there's one game that's on your radar that you are looking forward to the most outside of Skyrim, sequel, Elder Scrolls 6, whatever that turns out to be, it's Fable, for a multitude of reasons. We do have it on good authority that the game has been in some form of development since 2017. We have it on good authority that the team was finding some struggles in creating this massive open world, something that Playground Games knows how to do with cars, maybe not so much with actual characters. Is it important, and do you think that they are going to show something? Because this is one of their big ones. There's no doubt this is a big one for Xbox. Do we see it on the 12th, dude?
As Archimedes points out, that's a big question, man. And here's the thing, right? Whenever to answer this question, I kind of need to backstep and talk about the whole tragedy that is Starfield and Redfall getting delayed. Yes, that is terrible, but Xbox is a big company. Like, they are a beast. These acquisitions have positioned them better than probably almost any other company, right, in the gaming industry. And so they have a ton of IP and a ton of games and a ton of studios to come out and talk about. And so because of that, it really makes it hard to say whether or not we will see Fable. I've been following, the whole Fable 4. I think it's just going to be called Fable, but this fourth Fable game, I've been, following this since, 2016 or 2017, whenever, it was first, whenever the first whispers were coming out about this game. Right.
Yeah.
And so they've been working on this for a very long time. How long was pre-production for this title? I have no idea. This was, this is a brand new, genre for Playground Games, it could have taken a lot longer. They were building, another team to help, create this game. How long did that hiring process take? I don't really know, right? And so, because we don't have all the information, it's really, really hard to say when we're going to actually expect to see this game dropping, or releasing. And because that's hard to say, it's kind of hard to say whether or not we're going to see this game during Xbox's showcase this June. I think that there is a very good chance of it happening. I wouldn't go ahead and chisel it in stone or anything, but I think that there is a decent chance of us seeing the new Fable game. Now, that could possibly be gameplay, that could possibly be just in-engine footage, or it could also, potentially be, and I know a lot of people aren't going to like this, but it could potentially be another kind of cinematic trailer that is just longer and more detailed and give us more, hints and tips about what this game is truly going to be like. They could definitely show, Fable, and in any of those three situations that I listed, whether it is, another cinematic trailer, whether it's gameplay, or whatever else, I would be happy with. I am super, super excited about, the next Fable game. Just historically, I have loved the franchise. For me personally, like the first one's always going to be my favorite. The third one's actually my second favorite, which is going to get me a lot of hate probably in the chat. And then my third favorite is, of course, the second Fable game. But I'm looking forward to the game. I can't wait for it to drop, and we could possibly see it during the showcase. That would definitely change a lot of people's negative perceptions about the about how Xbox handled announcing the delay of Starfield and Redfall. However, we would it would be absurd to think that Fable is, Xbox's saving grace. And I don't think anyone
I
wouldn't
put that on anyone's game's back. I think that as a whole, they all have an important piece to making Xbox game studios. Like, I wouldn't put that on one particular game. I mean, some people may say, oh, it's supposed to be Halo or it's supposed to be Gears or Forza because those are the pedestals, but I don't think so. I think that Microsoft, and that's a great point, I mean, absolutely fantastic point, that it shouldn't be one game that is holding up the whole brand, because that's not like that for any one Nintendo game, or for that matter, a Sony game.
Sure, absolutely. And once again, gamers are different. We all don't like the same games. We're not, not everyone that's listening to this podcast is a uber not Halo fan, Fable fan that's super excited for this game to come out. There's going to be a lot of people in the chat right now that just aren't really, they don't really care one way or another about Fable. It's just not a game that interests them. And so, relying on one game to lead your brand would just be a poor idea altogether. But to harken back to that, once again, Xbox has so much IP. They have so many studios, so many games that are currently in the works that, this upcoming June showcase, I have no doubt is going to be a really, really good show.
Yeah.
As always, manage your expectations, until they officially announce something is actually going to be showed off during the show. Don't expect it to be there, because then you may get disappointed and upset for, the wrong reasons. But I'm really, really excited coming into, this June, seeing all the new games that are coming out for, Xbox. And also, don't underestimate the power of third-party deals, getting games into Game Pass. Because that could definitely be one of Xbox's huge saving graces to getting a lot of the community back on their side and kind of have them forget about all the negativity. One other thing, and I know this isn't Fable related, but one other idea that I had that I actually wanted to mention during your last show, whenever we were talking about the Starfield delay, is Modern Warfare 2 is releasing this year. And of course, we know that Xbox is working really, really closely with Activision Blizzard. There is Of course, no way of knowing this to be a fact, but there is the chance that we could potentially see Modern Warfare 2 coming into Game Pass day and date, right? We don't know how old those PlayStation contracts are. If they
well,
even
actually,
mention,
we do.
Do
We
we?
do know that Sony has the next 3 Call of
It's
Duty
good until
games locked down.
2024. 2024
Yeah,
is when the contract
exactly.
expires.
So this year's Call of Duty, we know that there won't be a mainline Call of Duty next year, but Warzone 2 is coming, and then the one that drops in 24. So these 3 are under lock from Sony. What we don't know is whether they have actually something in that marketing contract that forbids the game to come to Game Pass. This is the question.
Yeah.
But I would assume that it will be really challenging to bring that into Game Pass before the acquisition goes through at least day and date. I highly doubt that.
Sure. Absolutely. And 100%, I agree with you. That's what I was leading with. We don't know how, old those contracts are. We don't know when they were initially signed. Of course, you pointed out that we do know when they end, but we also don't know the contents of those contracts. It is in the realm of possibility that it could potentially happen.
Here's something that's interesting. And folks, listen, I don't have a law degree, right? I'm not a lawyer. I know the law, the criminal law, because obviously I was a police officer for 21 years. But I do have a question. And look, one of the things that we know, and I'm taking it away from video games, talking about movies. One of the things that we know is Sony owns the rights to Spider-Man and like 900 characters within the Spider-Man universe, right? That's a fact. That's known. They don't have the gaming rights. They have the film rights, right? One of the things that is interesting is if, let's say, for instance, tomorrow, Sony gets purchased by Apple. Let's say Apple buys PlayStation, right? They see that they're just as rich as and potentially in some markets even more rich than Microsoft. Those Spider-Man rights would revert directly back to Disney. They would revert because they're not transferable. If they get sold, they lose the company would lose those rights. Now, I don't know if that falls true to Call of Duty. Like, we don't know the inner workings. I've never seen the contract. Anybody in the chat have seen the contract? I couldn't tell you what was in that contract that was signed 4 years ago, if it's even still valid. But I would imagine.
Well, can I jump in real quick?
Sure.
4 years ago, Game Pass wasn't what it is today. It wasn't nearly as big of a threat to Sony 4 years ago as to what it is today. So if they, and we know that Sony has had a long time relationship with Activision and Blizzard where Call of Duty is concerned. So if that contract was signed 4 years ago, it may not actually have any, stipulations of keeping the game out of Game Pass, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's again, we does the deal get even done this year, right? Does it get done this year? I don't know. I mean, they have it forecasted for summer of 2023. That's when they think the deal is going to finally get done. The Disney Fox deal took about 18 months. Mm-hmm. So again, only time is going to tell. But I do want to bring VJ in on this opening topic, and hopefully, first of all, we got almost 400 people here. That's awesome. Got to give a big shout out to Lady AF, the darling of the community. She actually said that Fable was, I lost it. She said something to the effect that Fable was in development. It's time for them to show. And I absolutely agree with her, but let me just catch up on these 2 super chats that have come in. Good friend of the program, Robert Copeland. Rob, what's going on, brother? Thank you so much for being here. Of course, thank you for the generosity. He drops a $10 super chat and says, hey, Boom, I'm speculating here. Maybe Microsoft made the call to postpone those games after seeing the BMD overruling Todd. So when BSM were told to, and Bethesda, I think he's talking about, was told to make the announcement, they just dropped a post. Todd and Phil, and I like I said, I'm not a fly in the wall. I wasn't hanging out with them last night for drinks in LA, so I can't. From what we understand, their relationship is rock solid. Like, they are best of friends. I don't think. I think how I think this must have gone down. And again, this is just complete speculation. I don't think it was Phil making this call. I don't. They allow Bethesda to be Bethesda. They have two people that they trust indubitably running that publisher. Todd Howard and my God, why is his name escaping me?
Pete Hines.
Thank you very much. There you go. Pete Hines are solid leaders. They know what they're doing. They've been running Bethesda for years, and I think what must have happened is this seemed like this might have been a Todd Howard call. I don't think this was but again, I'm just speculating.
Can I throw in my speculation on this?
Please go ahead.
We have seen like 2-3 days before they made the announcement, all
They were
these
all together.
pictures.
Yeah.
They were all
Mhm.
together. And let me be honest, they were sitting in that theater and they were looking at the game. And then they asked probably the question, is this going to be a second Halo Infinite scenario?
Maybe.
When we show it in a couple of weeks, will people really like it? Will it fulfill the expectations that people have it? Or are we facing a second Craig situation? And I think that at this point, Todd Howard, Pete Hines, Phil Spencer, probably Matt Booty, couple of the executives just sat together and said, do we delay it? Do we have a backup plan? And what can an additional 6 months or whatever it has been delayed to do for the game? I think, honestly, this was a short-term decision.
Well,
No,
we're gonna know.
I agree with you. Yeah. I mean,
because we have seen.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, we haven't seen Bethesda or especially Xbox marketing any game like they have marketed Starfield on a bi-weekly basis. We got these little dev diaries, these 1, 2, 3 minute long interview kind of dev diaries where they talked about the music, about the world building, about the storytelling, about all these things, and they haven't done that for not even for Halo. Not even Halo did get that kind of promotion. So I really think that they had this plan, but then they sat together for the final review. What are we going to show? Is this gonna be a second Halo situation? This is
I mean, listen, I'm assuming that we're going to learn exactly what this game looks like. Whether or not they should still show it. I think they absolutely have to, in my opinion. But Spartan Ghost _17. Thanks for being here, brother. He drops a very generous £5 super chat and says, Phil is fumbling the bag. He needs to run a tighter ship when it comes to production schedule. All of this loose action is costing him a lot right now. And you know what? Speaking of that particular comment, we're going to be talking about that like gentlemen tomorrow night's primetime gaming. I think it's going to be a big topic and one that I feel very confident that we can break down and be critical, but also be real and not use terms loosely for our opinions on it. I'm actually looking forward to that show because I think that everyone on that particular panel will have a lot to say. And I haven't, we've talked in the DM. I haven't had a chance to podcast with them since this, because obviously the show happens on Wednesdays. This news dropped last Thursday, so I didn't get a chance to talk with them, and I'm looking forward to getting their opinion on it. But we had another super chat come in from Space Monkey 0899. Love that. He says, after dropping a $5 super chat, Microsoft should focus on backwards compatibility to fill the gap. Yeah, we're going to get into not so much backwards compatibility, but HD remakes in the form of what I think we're going to segue next to. But VJ, you've been hearing what everyone had to say, and of course, your unique way of combating these topics that I put together always has me excited because you're very visceral when it comes to breaking them down. Fable is one of their biggest IPs that they currently own. I'm going to say that right now. You can put that right up there with Halo and Forza. You can put that with Perfect Dark. This is an important game for them. The game has been in development, again, since 2017. We know that they've had some development woes, I would say. I think that they needed to get some people in there that were used to these open world scenario type of games, and they did. They have a lot of people that they've gotten over from Sony Santa Monica. They have people that worked on Metal Gear Solid, I believe it was 5. They have hired quite a few AAA talent when it comes to developers. What are you expecting June 12th? Do we finally get a chance to see what this game's about?
Oh my goodness, we covered so many topics today, Boom. My head's
Yeah, I know
like-
this is a little wacky. Thank God we only have 4 people here.
So I think I can't. I haven't.
I apologize.
No, it's fine. I was trying to catch up with the delays and obviously dovetailing into Fable, and I can't not talk about Starfield and because I think Fable's related to it, because I don't know what they're going to show in terms of Fable, but one thing PGG should be looking at is exactly what went wrong with 343 and what's currently occurring over at Bethesda, right? And the most important thing is whether they show it, they don't show it, is that they learn from mistakes made by their peers, right? I think mistakes is a really harsh word, Boom. I say mishaps, right? So
yeah, that's better.
Look,
sure.
I think sorry, my vocabulary is not up there today, but look, as dreadful as it may seem, I haven't noticed sort of swaths of gamers being disappointed by the delay of Redfall itself. Sorry, I couldn't help that. And sort of then you're sort of talking about, sort of Starfield's delay. And look, if you've experienced working in the industry, you'll know that just by working back from the date of release of a video game, and then you look at the fundamental milestones that are attributed to the last 12 months of game production, that the obvious presents itself clearly, even to a novice producer. And then what point I'm trying to make is that the game may not ship on schedule. And Xbox have got lots of experience in this field, right? Rightly or wrongly, experience serves to help you sort of not make the past mistakes or help or mitigate them from reoccurring again. So look, besides the obvious sort of recent experience and issues that sort of, if you just look at Cyberpunk, Halo Infinite, and now Starfield, and I'm talking about them because specifically, I know there's other games, but because these 3 games had huge budgets, reportedly or purportedly, however you want to look at it, and were, sort of very ambitious projects, and they've all suffered similar fates. And Boxenberg may or may not agree, but I think it's partly due to their fates aligning due to custom engine issues, and I'm sure that's just one, amongst sort of several telling factors, and I'm pretty sure of that. And I'm not saying this lightly. For any experienced producers, they should all know that that's a potential killer, right? In terms of when your game is going to ship, or if it's not going to ship. My point's got absolutely nothing to do with, like, I think you guys have touched on it, the sort of public display of disdain towards Xbox, the game's delay, and even the game itself. I really couldn't care less about that. My point is that Xbox would have had ample time to sort of at least attempt an alternate plan for Q4 2022. I think that's the issue here. The momentum that Xbox has built up, I think, as you pointed out to Boom in the beginning of the show, is always critical and always important and always shows signs of progress. And what have I talked about on your show for 2 years? Consistency and progress. And what did I talk about last week in terms of what I want to see from the show? Progress. And it's not about contrasting and comparing to other companies in the industry. That's just futile, right? To a degree, right? And for me, the clock didn't start ticking today, right? In terms of, what are they going to do for the end of the year? And what are they going to replace these games with? And is Fable coming? And what are they going to do to placate the audience? This was something that they knew 6 to 8 months back. If they don't, and I haven't been in game development for a while, but even I know that, right? And so,
great point. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a fantastic. First of all, that's a great point, because VJ does say that he has experience. This is one of the reasons why I love having him on the panel. He's not just a podcaster. He's worked with video games in both retail and in development, and I really want you to hammer that point home, please.
So I guess this is where then the critical thinking comes in, right? And I know Zemi's and Boxenberg's touched on this, but I just want to elaborate on it a bit more. So then the question arises amongst us fans, right, and the podcast and yourself, Boom, and so on and so forth. Does Xbox have a plan to mitigate the position they find themselves in? If not, then what about a plan to completely dispel public discontent? And you would think surely they must have something in the pipeline. So they'll, first of all, the obvious one is that they'll put their best foot forward on June 12th in order to do so, right? And I don't know what Xbox does this year end. The question I keep asking myself by listening to everyone is, do they need to do anything at all? And I just look across at Sony last year, right? Sony did really, I would say, really very little, right? When its own first-party title slipped from holiday quarter 2021 into Q1 2022, right?
Yep.
And they've gone on to do pretty okay, right? As far as I can see, right? And I don't have a crystal ball. So Xbox, for me, where they are at this moment, right? Xbox should just continue to work hard and look to improve on reducing these mishaps, right? And if they can somehow conjure up, value via content in demand, perhaps from internal studios, which we don't know about, because they have plenty of them, right? To sort of help elevate Xbox and Game Pass this year and throughout the rest of this year without spending obscene amounts of money, then that would be pretty great. And despite us sort of looking for answers, right, or groping in the dark, not using them. I know you don't get up to that sort of thing. The answer to me is clear. Seeing more of Starfield running on Xbox, not PC, next month, and understanding the nature of the game that has the attention of the masses. Let's be clear here, right? And I think this is really important, and not Fable, and not this other stuff. And I think it's really interesting that, and for me, that it's more important for me than sort of seeing something bought and paid for to sort of plug the gap this holiday season. Elden Ring, right, is a really good example. Right? I've spent like over 23 days, physical days, right, playing that game. I was shocked.
My God, that's even more than me. Gee whiz.
And Elden Ring did a fantastic job of showing, revealing, and building up to a fantastic launch, right, from pretty far out as far as I can remember. And I'm happy to be corrected. My memory's not what it used to be, right? And my question is that, and I keep asking myself this, is that why haven't Starfield or why hasn't Bethesda used this approach, right? And perhaps they want to stick to what's worked for them in the past. But whatever happens, right, to Xbox, right, whatever's happening today isn't going to last, right? And whatever's happening to Xbox you think is going to happen for the rest of this year, they will sell out of all their allotted Xbox systems, and a fairly high percentage will still subscribe to Game Pass. If you can look at the situation objectively and past this sort of seemingly reoccurring hiccup, and it has happened more than once at Xbox, right? That's why we're kind of a little bit perturbed and a little bit nervous, right? The inevitability, or the odds are, is that at some point Xbox will get it right. However, I want to caveat this, right? And a point that you raised in terms of a topic tomorrow. There needs to be an intervention from Phil and a change up in the immediate leadership panel. And when I first joined your show 2 years ago, I said this to a muted response, right? And he's not, and I'm saying this because, as I said to you before, his greatest strength that I can see and his greatest weakness are exactly the same, and that's trust, right? And so I want this to happen so that he's not made to continually apologize for the same mistakes by the same people over and over again, which, as irony would have it, is that it's pretty much his own doing, since he's chosen as to who he surrounds himself with, right? And what I'm saying is that, of course, there's work to be done. Every major corporation or company, let alone video game industry companies, have work to do and works to be done. But it's not the end of the world, as some would have you believe. And if you want to, and if I can just touch on Fable, I don't know if I'm allowed to, Boom.
Yeah, please. I mean, this is a conversational podcast, brother. Go crazy. That's what we're here for.
I think it depends on where Fable is, right, in its development process. The game could be in pieces, undergoing surgery, right, or a quadruple heart bypass, right. But it could still, but that's just normal for game development, right? And it could be in perfect and fantastic shape, right? There's no way of really knowing, like you say, Boom, right? And I repeat, what Xbox can do is to simply put out an excellent June 12th show to dispel the apparent PR noise, because that's all it is. It's really just noise, which is still very sort of, if you think about it, it's spun PR, right, for public consumption, right? No PR is bad, or whatever the saying is, it's all good PR, right? Because if you think about it, right, the Xbox brand and Starfield is on the lips of everyone, regardless of the situation it finds itself in, right? So hopefully, for me, and I know Box and Beers has touched on this, so I don't want to repeat what he said. Just a blend of first party, second party, and third party, titles showcased, imminent arrivals in Game Pass, midterm arrivals over the course of the next 6 to 12 months, and showcase longer term future promise, if it's possible, and it doesn't derail the progress that the studios are currently making, because making a demo is incredibly difficult. People think, oh, it's 5 guys in a corner. No, it's not. It's the whole studio, right? Pretty much, right? and it adds to all their workload, and that can also cause delays, right? And as Boxenberger says, and I have to echo what he said because it made complete and utter sense, is no more CGI and internal concept trailers paraded as vision pieces for public consumption. That's just, sorry, for me, it's just naive, right? Perhaps just because of my experience in the industry. There is no inherent value or goodwill to be garnered from hardcore fans, in my opinion, that are extremely clued up. And you can learn so much more about the industry by just watching a few documentaries on YouTube, right? Then that sort of material was never available when I was in the industry, right? So you've got all the answers at your fingertips if you're just prepared to look. In-game pre-rendered cutscenes perhaps get a buy, but we need to see more to keep up, especially if Xbox want to keep up with Sony and Nintendo presentations and how they will inevitably approach reveals, right? Xbox just need to remain vigilant and realize, and I'm sure Phil is well aware, right? He's a humble guy, that he needs to compete with his peers in the industry who've built more and contributed far more to the gaming industry over the last 20 years with considerably less resource. And Phil, I know what he wants to achieve to a degree. I can read him somewhat, and he's got the opportunity to set out his own legacy, right? But and we all want that for him, right? He seems like a really nice chap. But first off, get this imminent show spot on, because it's not far away, and the public will move on from sort of this inevitable Starfield delay. And I might add that certain persons did hint, to it being delayed prior to the announcement, albeit again to a muted response. But anyway, that's my really small and boom. Again, my thoughts are really limited. I don't know everything, right? So take everything I say, in terms of in the way that it's meant, right? Because again, even my sort of knowledge is extremely limited, right? And I'm sure there's sort of people out there with better information and far more sort of current knowledge as to exactly where Xbox is at and what they're going to do this coming month. So
no. I mean, listen, we appreciate the knowledge that you bring to the to this channel, to the particular program, the Xbox Factor Podcast, and we look forward to you joining us on June 12th, where we cover it live, and then we're going to do a 60-minute post show regarding the what Xbox showed on June 12th. I'm looking forward to that, and I can't wait for your opinion. Real quick, Kevin Mitchell, good friend of the program, he drops a $5 super chat and says, "Box, best wishes on a speedy recovery to your son. I broke my arm in middle school, and my pops brought me a Dreamcast. Some of the best memories." That your dad is awesome, brother. Let me tell you that right now. And nothing makes you smile more than getting gifts after you break an arm or something.
I think what he's saying, Archimedes, is you need to get your son a Series S or something. Maybe
he
a
just
Series
had
X
a 6-year-old birthday party where Boxenberger had 17,000 steps or something like that. So yeah. he got his money's worth, the little guy.
It was we had like 12 kids over, and Jesus, I was exhausted after that party.
I bet you were. But listen, folks, I want to segue into a rumor that comes the way of our very good friend, Special Nick of the Xbox Factor Podcast. And once again, we have to talk about Fable. We have to talk about Gears of War specifically because according to VGC, where I pulled this story from, and that is, of course, the videogameschronicles.com, they wrote and are reporting that according to journalist Nick Baker, of Xbox Era, he has claimed that there is a Master Chief Collection level game in the works for the Gears of War franchise, tagged the Fenix Collection. And this is what Nick had to say. He says, "A while back, I said that there's another Microsoft franchise that's getting the Master Chief Collection type treatment. I'm on the belief that it's coming this year," and he actually believes that to be a Gears of War Ultimate package, Fenix Collection, if you will. And getting back to Fable, Fable has once again made the rounds of the rumorville that Microsoft is in current development of an HD collection for the Fable trilogy. Now, we've heard that several times. I don't know if Nick specifically has talked about that, but here is my question to the chat. Here's my question to the panel. We'll start first with our returning friend Boxenberger. Listen, nothing. I don't think outside of what is and we're going to get into it, folks. Don't worry. We're going to talk about Wolfenstein. We're going to talk about Hellblade. If those are the two that replace these games, then it's going to be amazing. I don't know if it is Wolfenstein. It could be. A lot of people disagree. Casante doesn't seem to think that Hellblade is ready, and I'm starting to kind of agree with him. I don't know how COVID has impacted the development, because most of their work is motion capture, and that was a big problem during COVID, during the height of the pandemic. And even now, we're starting to see outbreaks all over the place, and we're reverting back to wearing masks everywhere. So COVID's still a problem, folks. So I don't know if Hellblade is ready for prime time just yet. Is that the first quarter of next year, maybe? Is that holiday of next year? We're never going to know. We're going to get into that momentarily. But Boxenberger, these are two collections that I think could soften the blow, so to speak. A lot of people will be like, well, boom, it's old games. Listen, I don't know about anybody in the chat, which we've got over 400 people here. I would love to run through Gears of War collection, like remastered with better graphics and lighting and everything. And I would say the same thing for Fable. I would be more than happy to run through Fable as we wait for the Fable reboot from Playground Games. Would this be enough for you? And are you hoping that these collections come into fruition there, Boxenberger?
Yeah, I would love them, like you just said, no doubt. The question is there something to these rumors? We have heard those rumors about a Fenix collection and even about the Fable collection many times over the last years. When I read that, or better said, I listened to the Xbox Era podcast. I love the guy. Shout out to John and Nick. It could very well be, but the question is who makes it. And so
they have 30 plus teams, Boxenberger.
Yeah, they have 23 right now, and they are all busy. And we basically know about all these studios. So they probably would have had to hire someone, some external studio, like we have seen with Certain Affinity, who does additional work now for Halo, or we know that for instance, CD Projekt Red outsourced the next gen patch to an external studio, stuff like that. It could be. So listen, I would love that Fable collection. Honestly. More than the Gears, dude. Yeah, more than the Gears, because Gears, I love Gears. It's nothing against Gears, but the Gears games actually hold up quite well with all the back compat enhancements. If you look at the FPS boost, the auto HDR, the 16 times anisotropic filtering, and so on, those games actually, look at the Gears 3 on the Series X at 60 FPS, gorgeous HDR. That game holds up really well. I just downloaded the other day Fable again, the anniversary edition from the 360 days.
It's a little dated.
It is exactly, and that's why I say that these games need that fresh paint of code, and especially code of paint, and the especially with Fable coming. We just talked about it, 23, maybe 24, we don't know. Then that makes like a 14, 15-year break for that IP. Many gamers that are playing the Xbox today have never experienced a Fable game. And that would only make sense to bring that collection now to the Xbox for those gamers that never heard of a Fable. What's the fuss all about?
Yeah,
why is everyone excited? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just been so long for that IP that I think it would make more sense to make that Fable collection than the Fenix collection. But I play both of them, no doubt.
Yeah, I see a lot of people that don't want a Gears collection. Bone Slave, friend of the program, says we have all of the old Gears at 4K 60 with back compat. We don't need another on top of Ultimate. So there are a lot of people that are seeing, there are a lot of people that are kind of like a little tired of Gears. I love Gears. I don't think I'd get tired of it. I would definitely be playing through the series again with my brother, which I did originally and would love to do again. And obviously add new achievements and, all the bells and whistles of what you would expect for full-on remaster. The question is who. But Zemi Games, let's get your opinion on this. I mean, where do you fall with a Fable trilogy reboot and potentially now a Gears trilogy reboot? Do you want to see that happen?
Oh yeah, I'd play it. Yeah, I'd play it in a second. Look, I mean, you know, there are a lot of people that don't like the idea of like older games getting remastered and so on and so forth. And you know, I truly respect their opinions. And I think, but I do think that, you know, for a lot of these people that feel that way, if their like favorite franchise of all time was getting this type of treatment, they would probably love it. They would jump in, they would buy it, and they would probably play it. That's just a personal opinion of mine. But you know, I could say this: a lot of companies have done this. We saw it with you know, 2K doing it. I believe 2K was the publisher doing it with the Mafia games, right? We saw it with EA doing it with the Mass Effect series, right? And we've seen, you know, this type of treatment being done to older games all over the industry. Of course, we saw Xbox do it many years ago with the Master Chief Collection, and I think it's only going to be a matter of time until we see them do that again with another popular franchise. Now, maybe that's going to be Gears of War, and if it is, I'm pumped. I'll be there day one. Maybe it's going to be Fable. I feel the same way. I would love to jump back into these games, you know, with as Boxen you know, pointed out, you know, a new coat of paint on them, right?
Yeah.
Improved graphics, maybe taking the first game and maybe tweaking the gameplay a little bit to feel more modern, the way that BioWare did it with the Mass Effect 1 in their Trilogy edition. But, you know, to me, I would be excited to jump in there and re-experience these games. In a lot of ways, whenever I jumped into Mass Effect, for instance, it felt like it was the very first time I was ever playing Mass Effect.
Yes, Mass Effect Trilogy was phenomenally done.
It was done so well, and having all of those achievements pop up again, like, just added to that immersion. Like, this is the first time I've ever played Mass Effect. I don't know. I think it's really cool. I love whenever companies do this. Am I interested in every single remaster or trilogy, you know, edition that comes out? Absolutely not. And there's been a lot of trilogy or, you know, trilogies and remasters that have came out, and they just haven't really done very well. Like what was that one game that came out like 2 years ago, Boom? It was like fantasy, you know, something you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Reckoning. Yeah.
Yes.
The Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning, right?
Yes.
Or Re-Reckoning. Like, that came out. That wasn't really that good.
And that was one of my favorite games from that generation, and I did not like it.
Yeah, it just didn't fit right. But then, you know, there are some of these remakes or remasters that come out, or, you know, in some of these trilogies. You know, for instance, Destroy All Humans. You know, that game got you know, remade, and it was absolutely phenomenal. So you know, I think a lot of people's excitement's really just going to be based on, you know, their previous emotional connection with this franchise. But I always think it's a great thing. You know, I mean, it's conserving, you know, video game history. It's allowing the younger generation to jump into these games, which, you know, quite frankly, you know, I wouldn't want to go back to Grand Theft Auto 3 and play it, you know, on the PlayStation 2. It would just feel way too old. So having these games facelifted is never a bad thing, in my opinion. And I would be excited, and I would jump into it if Xbox did it with Fable or Gears of War.
Yeah, me too. I say not. Why not both? As we wait for Gear 6, as we wait for Fable to get done, Lady F in the chat said she would love a remaster of one of my favorite Fallout games, New Vegas. We did hear that Bethesda is working on some remasters or remakes. You know, Oblivion would be fantastic.
You know what? Oblivion would be life-changing for me. You know, it would. I would have to put extra candles in my closet to Todd Howard's shrine. No, but Morrowind would be great. But here's another one that a lot of people don't think about is Arena and Daggerfall. Like, doing like a full remake of those games, I think would be absolutely amazing, because so many people expect. I mean, those games aren't even available on console, right? So many Elder Scrolls fans that, you know, just exclusively play on console never played Arena and never played Daggerfall. So those games definitely need a facelift, and brought into, the modern era of gaming. But yeah, I mean, there's so many games that they have at their disposal to do this treatment to.
I think the IPs that they own are they're a mountain of awesomeness, and I would love to see a lot of these old IPs. I would love to see the Resident Evil 2 treatment for a lot of these older games. I think they absolutely should do it. I'm not saying that because I know there's going to be a subset of people like, we don't want to play old games, we want new IPs. I hear you.
But that's why the new games are coming too, right?
That is exactly my point. Yes, they can do both. They can't walk and chew gum at the same time, so to speak, with development and celebrating these older titles with new releases in the form of remasters that are done the right way, not done sloppily, and you don't want it to be sloppy like
no
Kingdoms
cash grabs.
of Amalur, which was one of my favorite IPs from last gen, from the 360 era. I mean, I put 300, 400, 500 hours into that game. Loved every minute of it. When I played the remaster, I got halfway through and I'm like, yeah, this is not that good, man. It felt dated. It looked dated. They said, oh, new paint, and it was old paint. That it was not good. Anyway, let's bring VJ into the conversation. What are your thoughts on this particular topic? I mean, Gears is, a lot of people think Gears is a little long in the tooth. I would disagree because I'm a Gears fan. I mean, I got a chainsaw gun right above my head right here. I'm in the bag. I got the dog tags right here sitting next to me. I'm in the bag for a Gears, a trilogy remaster in the form of the Fenix collection. I'm down for that.
Yeah.
But I'm even more down for being able to play Fable, the trilogy again, with new achievements, with a fresh coat of paint, and some development dollars behind it. Where do you personally fall with this? Could they use some of their classic IPs to lessen the burden as we wait for some of these new additions to these franchises to appear?
I think Boom, I think there's that word again, goodwill.
Yes.
And it helps to dissipate, other issues. But it also goes to show that Xbox is listening, right? Because I know that the community may be very small, right, in terms of regarding remasters and so on and so forth. But if you would think it's not important, I don't know why you would think that or otherwise, because it is critical. And look, I've enjoyed, Gears, Fable, the franchises, right? When they first came out, right? And I think when I got my Series X, one of the first games I completed again was the first Gears, right? So to be honest with you, I would have preferred Banjo-Kazooie, but that's just me, right?
That makes two of us, sir. Yes.
Because as I said to you, Boom, it was that game that came out of completely nowhere that just totally destroyed my opinion of Mario 64 being the best game ever. Right? So anyway, look, that's going a bit too far back. But look, these strategies work for Sony and Nintendo, right? And Xbox understand that besides being these sort of strategies being profitable, and we know how much money Nintendo make out of them, keeping your brands in the public eye. And I actually thought that Zemi was going to say this, being a marketing guy and all, right? But I'm glad he didn't, because he left something for me to say. So, and is that keeping your brands in the public eye benefits everyone, especially if you're sort of, or indeed planning, right, sequels further down the line, which obviously we know they are. And correct me on that if I'm totally out of the loop or wrong on that, but that's why I think partially why they're doing it. So it all completely makes sense, right? All the stars are sort of astrologically aligned, right, in terms of trajectory for past and present meets future and so on and so forth. Anyway, I'm digressing here. So I think that there will be a huge generation of players that haven't experienced these franchises due to the perception of dated visuals. And let's be honest, right? We're all a little bit sort of uppity, right, when it comes to graphics, even though we say it's all about the gameplay. So, but and I think that this new generation will love these games. And and if you're not one of those people, there's plenty of other content to engage your imaginations with, in Game Pass and outside of Game Pass, depending on your budget and your resources, etc., etc. And as again, Boom, I think it'll help Xbox to continue to sell systems, and thus currently, concurrently, right, increased subscriber numbers, and they're going to continue to climb. And I think that these sort of things, these sort of initiatives, can I say, right, and are a win-win for everyone. Unless you're, like me and you, Boom, waiting on Banjo. But I would say that I think someone mentioned New Vegas and Oblivion. It might have been Zen.
Yeah.
And I think
that was from a super chat. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay, great. So yeah, great call outs, because I think they'd be huge, since I've not experienced either of them. Now, please don't start throwing, tomatoes and wet cabbage at me. But yeah, if those are coming, I'd be over the moon, Boom.
No, I mean, listen, I like what you're putting down, and I think that you bring up a great point. These are two franchises that are legacy IP. They're legacy to OGs like us who have been here from the beginning. Xbox is finding a new audience, a younger audience. The Series S selling like hotcakes, PS, by the way. And there's a reason for it. And with that said, new players, younger players, may not know what a Gears of War is, may not know what a Fable is. And, obviously they're going to want to sell Xbox Game Pass to everyone. And the way that they can do that when these new games are released in a couple of years, they have to bring people to the franchise that have never played it before. These are absolutely two fantastic ways to do that. While we wait for Gear 6, while we wait for the smaller project from the coalition, which we don't know what it is. We know that it's Unreal Engine 5. We know that it's not related to Gears. So we know that something new is coming from them. Super exciting. And as for Fable, well, Fable with a new fresh coat of paint would be awesome, because the gameplay loop for that is phenomenal. It's an incredibly well-told tale, which, by the way, you're watching some older footage, because as of this morning, I hit level 70 in my battle pass. I am addicted to Halo. I am playing it 15, 20 matches, sometimes even 30 matches per day. It's just, and Fiesta. Play Fiesta. My God, it's so much fun starting with random weapons. Sometimes they suck, but sometimes you get a rocket launcher and you can start off killing and murdering people like crazy. So it's a lot of fun. But listen, let me thank Drawn TJ once again for the generous $10 super chat, and says they have already had a Gears collection. I could care less. Make a new IP. Don't know if you saw my earlier super chat. Yeah, I did. He said that he was talking about Gotham Knights. Yeah, Gotham Knights is a must, I think, to get into Game Pass. We don't know if that's going to happen. He said Test Drive Unlimited. Yeah, that's a pretty good one as well. Solar Crown and Xbox Game Pass. Yeah, I got to tell you, I mean,
Saints Row.
What's that?
Saints Row.
Saints 100%
Row is
Saints
also a
Row.
good
Yes,
candidate, yeah.
I think Saints Row should definitely get in there as well. There's this. They need to spend some bucks. They need to populate Xbox Game Pass with games that are not first party. They logistically have to pull a Sony. They have to go out and money hat a lot of these games. I know it's not a topic. We're going to get into the major topic of the show, and that's, well, what happens now? I mean, what is Microsoft going to replace these games with potentially Hellblade and Wolfenstein? And I'm going to go first to Boxenberger. Boxenberger, you and I have been talking about this what seems like a year regarding Wolfenstein 3. Yeah. We think that the game is done, or at least close to being done, potentially going gold. They've been working on that game forever. We know that they're working on the game. That's a fact. That's not even a suggestion. Hellblade 2. I don't know how long that game has been in development. I think you have an idea on that. And could we see these two franchises step up while we get to while Redfall and Starfield get some additional development time?
Yeah. First, Boom, I have to advertise a little bit my video from yesterday, because like you said, I don't know how long it's been in development, and I've been asking that exact same question myself for many of these announced Xbox games, and there are 20 announced Xbox games. Yeah, it's first party, and I'm just talking first party games. And so I did a lot of research and looked into all of these 20 studios and made a video about how long each of those games have actually been in development. I pulled out the sources as to why is Fable since 2017 in development and so on. And Hellblade, is an interesting one. Hellblade has been in development, well, for a little bit then more than around 4 years now. They said they took a little break after after they launched the first game, and then of course they spent some time porting it to other systems. But that game, the first ideas, concepts, and so on, began end of 2017, beginning of 2018. So that's around about 4 years now. Could it be a surprise release this year? Honestly, I don't think so. Last year they talked about where they are with the development, that they have the concept for the game ready, and that they are building out a vertical slice right now, from which they build out the rest of the game. Then we know that this is usually an undertaking of 1 to 2 years if a studio is at that stage in development. But given all the issues with the pandemic still ongoing, and you mentioned earlier, it's a very heavy game on motion capture, it's a heavy game on audio design, and stuff like that. So I don't think so that this game is a surprise release for this year. Now, you mentioned Wolfenstein, and this is where it gets very interesting, because people said all the time, this game isn't in the making. They're working on Indiana Jones. Yes, they are working on Indiana Jones with a second team, but that started early last year.
Yes.
That game went into full production early 2021. Now, we have to ask the question, what has Machine Games been doing since 2017, since they released their last game? Because that Wolfenstein with the two sisters wasn't a Machine Games game. They supported, of course, and gave the assets and engine and so on. But that's their last game. Their Machine Games' last game was 2017. So what have they been doing for 4 years plus?
And I would imagine, again, I'm not a developer, I would imagine that they're going to use some of the assets from the prior Wolfenstein games. They just have to, make a new story.
Exactly. So, yeah, that game has been in development. Pete Hines teased it a little bit last year at E3 when he said, of course, that isn't a dead IP, but obviously they are not ready to talk about it yet.
Right.
So, obviously, the game is in the making. They have had like 5+ years now in 2022, and given that it's the third entry, like you said, the third entry in the IP or in that franchise for them, that's plenty of time. So yeah, the Wolfenstein is one of the games where I say that could actually be a
what about the compulsion games?
The compulsion game is also an interesting one. That game, We Happy Few launched actually in 2016. That makes 6 years, even though the game had its full release in 2018. But it came out in what it's called early access or so.
Early access, yeah.
Yeah, so like with Grounded, people say, Grounded hasn't released. Yeah, I'm not buying it. I can't play that game for more than a year now in its entirety. And so it was We Happy Few. So they have around about 6 years in development, and they actually said that they started right after this release with early ideas, concepts, and so on the Iron Lords podcast about a year ago, when they had the social media manager on that game on that show. So yeah, compulsion is a maybe. We know a lot of Xbox executives have spoken about that game, and so yeah, it's a maybe. The one that I actually came to my mind is Avowed, honestly. Avowed was
that would be a big one, dude.
That would be big. That would be one that could actually fill that void that is left by Starfield. Because that game is going to be massive. It's the biggest and most ambitious game that Obsidian has ever worked on.
Yep.
It's basically their take on Skyrim. Pillars of Eternity meets Skyrim. This is gonna be big. This is gonna be awesome, and it is this single player experience that everyone wants. It is an RPG, a massive one. So yeah, this is and why do I say it that I could see that as a potential surprise drop? There are multiple reasons for that. First, the game is quite far along in development. Microsoft bought Obsidian Entertainment because of Avowed in 2018.
They did. That's a fact. Yep.
So in 2018, they said so. That is it's not debatable that they literally said so. That was the reason when they have seen the ambition for this game, they said, yeah, we need to buy you. So in 2018, Obsidian had to have something that they could show or pitch to Microsoft. So yeah, that game is at least 4+ years in development. Of course, take out a little slowdown with COVID. Every studio is affected by that, no doubt. But it is quite far along in development. Last year, Jess Corden has seen the game. Randall Thor has seen the game, and they said, actually, well, we thought there would be a release last year. Not a release, pardon me, a first showing, a demonstration of the game last year. And they thought, okay, since they didn't show it at E3, maybe they show it at the Game Awards, and they didn't. So they have to have something here. And this is maybe this sounds just like me hoping. And yes, of course, I'm hoping that Xbox has something for this year. But realistically, we know Obsidian Entertainment is a very well organized and very well managed studio. I know there's a lot of discussions about management out there. And if you want to learn something from someone, look at a studio like Obsidian. They know how to handle their IPs, their teams, and they know how to develop on with certain milestones in place and with timelines in place. So yeah, all these things combined tell me, okay, if Phil Spencer and he absolutely knew what would happen in the community if he delays the only 2 announced first-party games for the year. He knew what will be the outcry. He has to have a contingency plan. I doubt that someone like Phil goes out and does this without a contingency plan. And maybe that's about he visited the studio or someone from Xbox visited and said, hey, listen, maybe we need a few extra guys for the last 6 months to polish up the game, for few extra testers. I don't know. Let's put some resources in. Let's buckle down and get this game out this holiday season. Then that would be awesome. Of course, it's all speculation. But that's what we do here on this show sometimes, Speculation Town, even though Pong Soul isn't here today. But
he's listening. Pong Soul's listening. Why is that work?
Exactly. But that one is something, and the other one is like I said, Wolfenstein. These are the 2 maybes. With all the other games, I'm not 100% sure, if they are even a possibility for this year. Maybe it's one of these smaller projects, all these project names that we know of, like a Project Belfry or something smaller like this, of course, could be ready. But from the big first-party games, I think these 2 are possibilities. And yeah, fingers crossed that they surprise us on June 12th.
Yeah, I mean, let's bring in Zemi Games. And first of all, we got 418 people here. That is amazing. I can't thank you enough for taking the time to support this show, of course, Double Barrel Gaming. If you are enjoying the show, folks, I'm looking at the chat. How many likes do we have? Let's see. Let me see. Let me take a look at the likes. The
171.
Well, there's 418 people here, folks. Come on, do me a favor, hit the like button for the love of Jehovah, and let me know that you care, because that's how you do it. You don't gotta, if you don't have the money, that's fine. No one's saying you have to donate to be a channel member or anything. Not even drop a super chat. A simple like would be tremendously appreciated. Before I get to Zemi, Game Players HUD Zero drops an additional $2 super chat and says, Tonobu Itagaki Ninja Gaiden is active on Twitter. Yeah, I would love that guy to work on a successor as an Xbox exclusive. That would be pretty dope. But let's Zemi Games, let's talk about this. Hellblade 2 again is a game that we don't know where it is in development. They've been working on it a while. We do know that Ninja Theory specifically does work and use a lot of motion capture for this game. We don't know if that's been affected. I would imagine it probably was, without being too much of a genius in the room. Wolfenstein 3, man, that game has been worked on for a bit. I would love to see that. What do you think Microsoft? I mean, because the Compulsion one is an interesting one because they've been working on the game for a bit, and Phil has talked about it publicly. About that's one of his most anticipated games for the community to see. I can't wait. It's been pitched, at least rumor wise, as being BioShock meets Uncharted in a fantasy setting. Yes, please. Check. I'll take it. What do you think replaces these two big games?
Yeah, no. The tricky thing about it is for a game to replace it, the game needs to be ready, right?
Right.
There's no reason why Xbox would want to delay Starfield and Redfall just to bring out Hellblade sooner than what it's ready to be released at, and so the game truly needs to be ready. That could, there's a lot of games that could potentially, maybe possibly release perfectly fine this holiday and jump schedule of what maybe Xbox had priorly expected to launch them at, right? However, I don't think that we're probably going to see Hellblade this holiday. I maybe possibly next year, first or second quarter. Wolfenstein, I truly just don't know enough about that game or its development to really even talk about it. Mentioning Obsidian Entertainment is actually really, really interesting because they have a long history of making games with a very, very short window of time.
Yep.
And honestly, two of their best, most successful games of all time have been made under very, very, very extreme, time restraints. One
The
of
Pillars
those,
games,
well, yeah, the Pillars, but also the Star Wars.
KOTOR 2. You're right.
KOTOR 2. But then also another game that was mentioned a little bit earlier in this show, Fallout New Vegas.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was made in 18 months.
Fantastic point. Yeah.
And that's
right?
and by the way, I'm going to get some fight. Someone's going to want to fisticuff with me here. Zemi Games, the best Fallout ever.
I got your back there.
It's debatable. It's debatable. We don't need to bring those types of statements in here. That's just going to change the show altogether. But one thing I will say is, even though some of Obsidian's best work has been done under extremely tight, time constraints, I would imagine a large decision of Obsidian deciding to be acquired by Microsoft is more resources and more time. That way, they don't have to come under these really, really tight, restrictions. That's probably a big reason why they joined. And I don't know if Xbox would necessarily want, Obsidian to put themselves through that just to launch a game sooner than what it needs to be. I think this holiday season for Xbox, unless there is just, a game that is just ready to go. For some reason, they had this game, it's ready to release. They were just planning to push it until early next year. But, everything's perfectly fine. They can pull back and launch it, this holiday window, unless there's a first party game like that, which, we don't really know of if that exists. I think Xbox's best route is going third party, gaining third party games and getting them, into Game Pass day and date. I'm not talking about having Xbox go out and acquire acquire exclusive rights to any of these games or even timed exclusives to any of these games. Just getting the game into
Game Pass is the
that's
exclusive. That's the exclusive. Well said.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of games that are coming out this holiday that they could potentially do that with. Of course, I already mentioned a big one that's coming out, I think this August, is Saints Row, right? Now there's
Yeah.
other titles as well. If they're wanting to potentially replace an RPG, which this game is really kind of, a lot is unknown about it. It got delayed. It's been delayed a couple of times, and it has a new team working on it now as well. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. Potentially, maybe that's coming out this year. We don't know, right? Maybe it will come out this year. Maybe Xbox can, we already know that they have marketing rights with them, I'm pretty sure. So maybe they could get the game into Game Pass. Day and date. Maybe that is their replacement for Starfield, replacing one massive RPG with another one, right? So I really think that third party makes more sense than pushing up their first party timetables just to meet a deadline and potentially risk releasing an unpolished game. And one thing I also want to add in here as well is, we're all gamers, right? We love playing video games. I love playing Xbox's first party, but I also really love third party games, right? The gamers that are going out this holiday looking to buy an Xbox, I mean, let's be honest, the first party, whether there's first party or whether there's not first party, that's not even going to matter this holiday. Xbox consoles are all going to sell out, right? But, what people want is things to play, right? That is ultimately what they want. And if you can get them things to play in Game Pass and grow that service, all the better. So, I wouldn't worry too much about, what first party title does Xbox have this holiday. I would worry about, what title am I going to be able to play in Game Pass this holiday? And I think Xbox is going to have an answer for that. And hopefully we get to see that this June. And it's probably going to consist of third parties.
Yeah, no. And listen, Sony does that on a regular basis. Right. And they do it to great success, PS, by the way. So I don't see why Microsoft couldn't pull a page right out of Sony's book and use third party and indies as a supplement to, their first party not being there for that, everyone wants, which is, great.
Yeah. For instance, this year, people aren't going to be asking, the question on their mind isn't going to be, what game can I play this holiday season that those PlayStation people can't play? That's not what people
They're
are
going to be a
thinking.
few, but for the most part, no one's going to talk about that.
Majority of people are going to be thinking, what game am I going to get to play this holiday? And so long as they have an answer to that, all is good.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And I think that in itself, the exclusive is in fact Xbox Game Pass. Even if a game is launching on multiple platforms, Xbox gamers get a chance to play it for the price of just hitting the download button from their $15 a month. So that's a great point. Let's bring VJ into the conversation. VJ, listen, Wolfenstein, Hellblade, Compulsion's games. It's literally a round robin of what could replace these two games. Where do you personally fall into what should?
Actually, just on Compulsion games, that I just started to try that game Contrast in Game Pass. It's actually quite enjoyable. Actually, I really
Contrast is a fantastic. A lot of people forget that they actually did that game.
Yeah, it's actually a really intriguing game, Boom. I actually quite like it. So anyway, I don't want to digress from the question. Wolfenstein and Hellblade. So I've heard a few things from Zemi, yourself, and from Box and Bear. So just so you know, life's been back to normal in the UK for a while, and I believe Ninja Theory's mocap. I know not for the first one, but obviously since Microsoft has stepped in, mocap is now internal. All the facilities are just around the corner from their studio, which they've got access to now. So that always helps the studio, right? Rather than having to outsource it and then traveling down to London. It's just so time consuming and irritating. And if you want changes and fixes and retakes, it can be nauseating, shall we say, if not impacting your schedule and so on and so forth. Look, I don't know if these two big franchises arrive this year, Boom, but you would think that this is the way I look at it. If I was doing the internal scheduling for release, they would have been afforded a release window much apart from Starfield, right, in order to sort of enhance their probability of success. So next year is my bet, and that's a complete guess. I don't know, since you can't since fundamentally you can't speed up development, right? It takes time. It takes the time that it's going to take, especially in the latter stages of a game development project. And obviously, you know, it was really interesting to hear Box and Bear, right? And I think in some aspects he's very much correct, you know, with his sort of amalgamation of well thought out theories, you know, online discoveries and observations. I personally think he's got sort of camera systems in every Microsoft studio. He just doesn't let on. So
I wish.
But Boom, I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but I think everything I'm hearing, you know, just 1 month and one sort of set of digits sort of appears in my mind, June 12th. And
well, I mean, we're 27 days away officially as of today.
It can't come quickly enough. And it will answer a lot of questions in relation to, you know, what our personal gaming schedules will potentially look like for the next 12 months at least. And as Emmy quite rightly pointed out at the beginning of the show, right, gaming tastes vary from gamer to gamer, and that's just the nature of how it is, because we're all very different, very unique, and we enjoy, you know, our imaginations being engaged in a particular way. And again, you know, it varies from individual to individual. So my hope is that there is fundamentally on the June 12th show that there's something for everyone, right? Because that's what feels sort of, regardless of what business talk he comes out with, right? And I've talked about this, 2 years ago, 18 months ago, when I said that, you know, his focus on a gaming buffet, but fundamentally a gaming utopia, which has all types of products within there to amass, you know, a far greater gaming audience. But there's something in there for everybody, right? Whether they're sort of light-hearted, you know, single button games, or, you know, they're $200, $300, $400, $500 blockbusters, right? $500 million blockbuster, $500. I wish that was true, but yeah, I'll be in business with you, Boom. But look, if by some miracle, is it Wolfenstein 3? I'm not so familiar with the franchise, so I do apologize. And Hellblade 2 do arrive this year, and then I would say that's the cherry on the top of Game Pass, or in terms of what Game Pass already affords you, right? Because I think it affords you a lot. And those two games would be the cherry on the top. I'm not going to lie. I was looking forward to Starfield, but for me, I just hope they get the game right, because there's a lot of anticipation that's been built up in and around it, rightly or wrongly. You know, it is what it is. So yeah, I think I'm in Box and Bear's camp. And I just wanted to say something, just sort of left field here. I know, but I was just thinking about, you know, what, rather than new titles, what sort of, if I was sort of looking at what I could, low-hanging fruit, like what I could put into Game Pass, and you know, for Christmas, like they did with Sega previously with the Yakuza series, I'd love to see the Lost Judgment series and Tales of Arise in Game Pass this Christmas, please. I mean, I own the Sega franchises already, but Boom, they are fun. I don't know if you've played them, but they're fantastic games, and they're fantastic experiences. And especially you, Boom, you enjoy Korean dramas in your house, as do I, and as does my wife. Right?
Super addicted to them.
Yeah. Whenever you said that you wanted that in a Game Pass, you really sounded like you were talking to Santa. I just want to say that. You're like, please, I want that under the tree. Please.
I was speaking to you, and in my mind's eye, I had you dressed up as Santa.
I like it. I like what you're putting down. No. I mean, you make a lot of sense, as always. Folks, listen. There's officially 15 minutes left of the show, and we're gonna deliver another topic I think is worthy of a conversation. You know, when the delay happened, right? We've talked, I think everyone in the community, I'm talking about everybody. We're talking about the Randall Thors and Dealer and Colt and everybody and Gaz, and everyone has said their pieces regarding the delay. And everyone has valid opinions. Love these guys. They're good friends of mine, and love, you know, what they bring to this community. Though one of the running narratives for the anti-Xbox Game Pass community, and it's quite a large one, is that because of this delay, these two games, somehow or another, your Xbox Game Pass subscription price is not worth it. And when I heard that, I had to make it a topic, because it is the most ridiculous, preposterous thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Just this year, we're only into the 5th month of the year, and I have so many games to play that have come into Xbox Game Pass, whether they're exclusives, timed exclusives, or dual releases. The pickings are not to be believed, to the point where if you already had a backlog, good luck of getting to these games. And if you didn't, now you do. Boxenberger, this is, look, there are channels that try to grow their brand by using hate. I don't like it. If that's how you're going to run your channel, good on you. Good on you if that's how you want to run your channel. On misinformation, good on you. That's not what you get at Double Barrel Gaming. That's not what you get at the Xbox Factor podcast. What you get is honesty and truth and passionate gamers. When you heard this, Boxenberger, it was obviously ridiculous. What are your thoughts on this?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes. Now we can.
I know you can. Okay. Come on. We have 500 plus games in Game Pass. We have big AAA games, the biggest blockbusters. We have the smallest indie games in there. We have all the genres that are on this planet in there. There is something for everyone in Game Pass. And you get all of that starting at $10 a month. Yeah. If you don't subscribe to Ultimate, you still get access to all these games. Granted, you can play online, but even with Ultimate, it's 13 euros. I think it's, what is it? 15 US dollars a month. There is so much value. You only have to play like 2 games a year in Game Pass, and you already get your money's worth. This is ridiculous. Xbox adds like, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 games each month, big and small.
Yep.
It's ridiculous to say that it's not worth your money. That is simply not true. I'm playing Track of Yomi right now. Awesome game. I would have never bought that, honestly, but I'm enjoying it very much. And this is what you get with Game Pass. You get to discover games that you normally wouldn't play. You get to play multiplayer games with your friends, because I remember the Game Pass days where I was in a party with 3 buddies, and then we were like, okay, what are we playing? I want to play this game, but I don't have it. No, I'm not buying this now for 70 euros. I'm just not doing it. And these kind of discussions, they all gone with Game Pass. It brings the community together. It lets people play games that they haven't experienced before. And there are so many games dropping into Game Pass day one, like we get a Blake's Tale Requiem day 1 into Game Pass.
That's a big one. That's gonna be big.
How awesome is that? Exactly. Yeah, and there you go. Just with that, you saved yourself 70 euros. That's awesome. It's ridiculous to say that. It's actually just a narrative that is driven by the fanboys and console warriors, like you said. Some people just try to spin it differently. The only thing I let count as an argument, I probably expect that it slows the growth of Game Pass to not have
there's no 100%. Yeah, that absolutely
fall.
is.
But it's still worth your money, no doubt.
Well, look, obviously we get a chance as podcasters to talk with a lot of people in the community, which is awesome, right? Like we get a chance to interact both on this show, on your guys' shows, throughout the social media spaces. And there were a lot of people that were like, yeah, Boom, I'm going to be honest with you. I got Xbox Game Pass because Starfield was going to be in there, and I'm a bit dejected, or I'm a bit let down. And I hear you. And that's where that's where Zemi's point comes into play, where something like Saints Row, Gotham Knights, there's just a multitude of third-party games that if they're not already in the bag with Sony, Microsoft is going to have to make some deals. And is it a form of desperation? Do these publishers see Microsoft scrambling? Potentially. They're going to have to spend some bucks. I think Gotham Knights
honestly,
is a big one.
I would be surprised if Sarah Bond or Phil Spencer didn't pick up the phone prior to the announcement, because you make these deals before you announce something like that.
Also,
Business
these
101.
deals may already be in place. We just haven't heard
that's
about them
true.
because June hasn't
Good.
happened yet. And so
Good
Xbox
point.
may not even be worried in the least bit because they know that they have all of these deals already lined up, all of these, games coming into Game Pass. And sure, they would have liked to have Starfield and Redfall included this holiday, but now, it's not, it's not the ideal situation. They're not happy with how things, I'm sure, have played out. But now they just have to rely on those Xbox Game Pass deals even more than what they would have had to previously, which
100%.
I think for a lot of gamers is going to be okay.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree, and I think that you bring up fantastic points. Real quick, let's see, where is it? I just messaged him. Patman Jones actually says that they should try and get Sonic Frontiers to drop. They have a good working relationship with Sega. They're obviously making these big games that was announced a couple of last year. That's another big one. It's one of my most anticipated games for this year. I hope it does still release. That would be freaking awesome.
And once again, we know that Xbox has been in a lot of conversations in Japan. We know that they've worked out a deal with Sega. Maybe possibly it's already planned to release in Game Pass, right?
Yeah.
These are just things that we just don't know.
Unfortunately, we don't know. That another fantastic point. Let's Zemi continue. Let's continue with Zemi here. Obviously, this is the big hold. And, we don't know what first-party games are going to be ready. What if none are ready? And that's going to be very unfortunate. There's no doubt about it. But with that said, the Game Pass scenario, but not being worth your $15, folks, understand that, and I don't know why I'm even explaining this. A year of Game Pass is $180. That's 3 major games. Take any 3 games that are coming, that have come, and there's your subscription on top of everything you already get. To suggest that it's not worth your $15 a month is foolhardy at best. But Zemi, what are your thoughts on the narrative that people are trying to push to simply use hate to motivate people to sub their channels?
Yeah, this whole topic has, existed for a very, very long time. Pretty much ever since Game Pass came out, we had people saying, well, it's not worth the money. It's not valuable. And you know what? I will agree that whenever Game Pass first came out, in my
2017,
opinion,
summer of 2017,
it wasn't worth the money, right? But as it's evolved, it to me is worth the money. I think that we're seeing an increase in people talking this narrative and sharing this opinion because of Starfield and Redfall getting delayed. I think a lot of this conversation right now is just kind of has been bred out of anger more than anything. What I will say is that the thing that matters the most for a consumer at the end of the day is value. Does a business offer value, to its consumer? And it's true for any business anywhere, right? For instance, I am a small business owner. I run a YouTube channel and I also have a small game studio. Boom, you're a business owner as well. Your YouTube channel, Box and Burger as well, right? The value that we offer is we create videos. If people enjoy those videos, they're going to watch it. If they don't, then of course they're not going to watch it. The same exact thing can be said for Game Pass, as a service, right? Each and every single consumer needs to look at this service, and they need to weigh the cons and the pros, and they need to look at it objectively. And I think most consumers probably do. Is this service worth $15 or $10 of your money every month to get access to what you get? And if the answer is yes, then they're going to remain subscribed. And if the answer is no, then they should definitely unsubscribe, right? So for anyone that for everyone out there, everyone's going to look at this and be able to tell, right? If someone subscribed and their only reason for subscribing was Starfield, then of course, why wouldn't they want to cancel that subscription if nothing else in there interests them? Just cancel it until early next year and then resubscribe, right? To me, it's all about value. So, but value ranges from player to player and from consumer to consumer. Some people are just not interested in Game Pass, and that is okay. That is perfectly okay. And it's okay for them to spread their opinions as well, I think, right? if they're not happy with the service, or if they just don't see value in it, and so on and so forth. And once again, it's okay for us to talk about it and communicate why we think that they're wrong. I think just to the crux of the conversation of people using this as, negative news to, promote their channels or whatever. I think the way that I think ultimately in certain circumstances, it's okay, right? It just depends on how it's done, right? Is it done with class or is it not, right? But at the end of the day, every consumer is going to look at Game Pass, Netflix, or any other service, and they're going to weigh what they get, the ultimate value that they get versus the amount of money that they pay. And they're going to base their choices off of that. I don't think most consumers are going to be basing their choices off of just a random YouTuber that's making a video about it, right? I think a lot of people are going to then continue to investigate, or eventually they're going to hear other people's opinions about it. So it's a shame, right? I wish everyone loved all the things that I loved as well. But
value is subjective,
and
Zemi Games.
it is.
Good shout out to a good friend of the program, Nightwolf 3186 drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, what's up, Boom and panel? Have a great show, guys. Also, Jurassic World Evolution out now in Xbox Game Pass. And I saw someone say, well, that's not worth it to you. If that's the case, I hear you.
Don't subscribe.
Don't subscribe. Don't spend your $10 or $15 a month. And if you're a Sony guy or gal, they have a service for you coming in June. You can pay $18 a month and you can get all the games. And again, their list of first party games, strong, super strong. But I own all those games already. And their older games, I don't have a reason to play Twisted Metal 1 or some of their older stuff. It doesn't interest me, and that's fine.
That's a really great point that you're bringing in, because we've talked about PlayStation services before, right? Mm-hmm. And we've shared opinions about how we don't think it's as valuable as Game Pass. And that's a big reason why I haven't subscribed to PlayStation services, and it's a big reason why you haven't subscribed to those same services as well. It's because it's not valuable to us. So, it's perfectly okay to not see value in the Game Pass. Every consumer is different. It's just, it's one of those things.
Yeah, no, again, value is subjective, and it's going to be what it's going to be. If you are enjoying the amount of games that have been dumped into Xbox Game Pass, which there have been this year alone, a significant amount, then you're enjoying your money's worth. If those games don't interest you and you're not downloading them, well, then that's entirely up to you. Unsubscribe. But let's get VJ's final point. We'll get everyone out of here. VJ, Game Pass is a subject that I don't think is going to go away, especially now considering that Sony has their own somewhat it's not a comparable service. It is a service that offers games, older games. A lot of their really big AAA games are in there. I think it holds no value because I currently own all of those games. And they're $18 a month is, to me, it's not worth it. Even at $120 a year, I would have to get it for like $80. You go to SeaKeys and it's on sale for $79. Then maybe I consider. But still, it would they have to add some more games like Game Pass does. When you hear people trying to equate that that Game Pass has no value because these two games were delayed, what are your
in fact? And they sort of adopt a sort of a pejorative and pious demeanor and mindset towards Xbox and its offerings. Doesn't matter what it is, right? That's just the way it is, right? And you can see evidence of this across social media and vice versa towards Sony. And so many have a extremely foggy peripheral vision, right, or view towards Game Pass. It's I would say it's a self-imposed impediment. And then worse than that, why spew or wish this affliction on others, right? This is my issue, right? Look, I'm no paragon of virtue, right? Even though Pong Cell would have you, believe otherwise. Cheers, Pong, if you're listening.
Yeah, and I had to reset. People said I was botting, so.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, and and Game Pass is not perfect. Xbox has never claimed it to be so, and neither of its fans, right? We just said it's value for money, and perhaps, even Game Pass has longer term ramifications on the industry, which some have said, some of which has been highlighted on this show, and I'm sure we'll discuss related ideas, but in a mature, healthy way, and in good time, right? And again, whether it's Game Pass or $70 games, I sense that there are those that generally just love or have a highly erotic valuation of their own opinions and of themselves, right? And you know who they are, right? I don't know if that was appropriate to use that word, but I apologize if it wasn't. So I choose not to engage with the perverted like and their ways, right? You're going to have a really tough time drastically altering the perception of disingenuous people, of their opinions, or in fact the world, right? And the only thing you can do, Boom, is elevate and raise your own positive frequency and outlook. For example, Boom, right, at the close of each show, right, the teachings your father shared with you, and you in turn kindly share with us, helps to aid just that, right, goodwill and positivity. And I think on that note, Boom, it's time for a lovely cup of tea. Cheers.
Yeah, no. I mean, listen, again, I'm never going to tell anyone how to run their channel. I'm going to say that I'm not going to subscribe to your channel if that's the kind of shenanigans that you're going to push out there. Listen, I don't get paid every time I say Game Pass. I wish I did. I wish I got a quarter every time I said it because, quite frankly, I would be loaded.
You'd say it a lot more too, wouldn't you?
I probably would.
Yeah.
But listen. We got the 4 topics. And again, sorry about the botting situation. I had a power surge and I kind of froze and I had to reset everything. And thankfully, StreamYards doesn't go down, which is why I pay for the private servers. And obviously, everyone's been able to continue. So apologies for the blip, if you will. But we got the 4 topics. I really enjoyed the conversation. I really enjoyed the chat. We had over 400 people here, which was amazing. There was one particular troll, which I will not render the name, but my God, he made 8 different bot accounts to tell us that Xbox sucks. Again, not to be a D-bag, but reevaluate your life there, fella. It's just really not that serious. You need to.
I just spent that 5 or 6 of those accounts from him the other day on my channel too.
I mean, I'm just saying that it's
get a life, dude. Get a life.
You could donate today's super chats to some therapy sessions for the poor.
You know what? I will give all super chats after Google takes that 30% to this poor person's mental psyche help. You definitely need help, or you need to grow up, or a little bit of both. But yeah, look, I'm not going to tell people how to act, but man, you kind of embarrass yourself. You really do to make that many bot accounts to tell me that Xbox sucks. Wow, dude. You need help. But listen, folks, that is your show. Thank you so much for spending 2 hours with us today on the Xbox Factor podcast. Obviously, the rest of the week is loaded with content. Tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Primetime Gaming crew will be back. And we're going to continue this conversation with what is Microsoft's plan B if they actually have one. And we're going to get into some potential managerial questions that some of the people in the panel have about, a better cadence to their first party lineup. They need to be better. We deserve better. And we're going to get into that. And again, I can't wait to hear from the rest of the guys who I hadn't had a chance to podcast with since the news. And everyone has such incredible opinions on a weekly basis. I'm looking forward to that conversation. This Thursday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to be sitting down with Pong Soul to kind of talk about the Marvel game that is rumored to be in development at ZeniMax Studios, as well as, and this is a great question, is 2023 or bust for Xbox Game Studios? Well, we're going to break that down on what's going to happen if they can't deliver in that year that's supposed to be the year of years for gaming. And of course, Friday morning, Breakfast with Boom. I'm currently putting that story together. I mean that show together, and I'm writing the script as we speak. That'll be Friday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's get to the outros. We'll start first. Welcome them back. Box and Burger, welcome back, brother. Tell everyone about the new video you just put out. And more importantly, where could they subscribe to your incredible YouTube channel?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me again. It's been a blast. Looking already forward to the show next week. So thanks for having me. Thanks to the amazing chat. We had some awesome discussions in there as well. Yeah, and people can find me everywhere on the Boxenberger. Like you said, I just dropped the video the other day. On all the Xbox first-party games and how long they have been in development, actually. I think this might help some people to speculate what could be shown at the showcase, what could be the backup plan for Xbox this year. If you just look at some facts in how long these games have actually been under development. And of course, on Thursday this week, the World of Gaming, my podcast is going to return. I have King David from the Iron Lords as a guest this week. We're going to have some awesome discussions. Of course, the Xbox delays will be one of them. But we have some other awesome topics to talk about. Can't wait. That's Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central Europe, or 7 p.m. UK time. So yeah, definitely make sure to tune in there. Otherwise, I see everyone next week here on this show.
Yes, absolutely, brother. And Zemi Games, sell your brand, but more importantly, sell your game. Where can people check out the newly developed and absolutely astounding Back to School? It's $5. Where can people go and get that game? And what else you got going on, brother?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I just recently released a game in March. And the game's called Back to School. It's a educational trivia game where the player has to answer challenging primary school questions to see if they're smart enough to graduate elementary school. It honestly is very, very challenging. And I think it's a lot of fun, and a lot of people do as well. So if you haven't checked it out, and if it does sound like a game like you would be interested in, you guys can currently purchase it on Xbox and Steam for $4.99. And if you're looking for, additional information about the game, you can go to www.goldenrodgames.com and click on our games page, and all the information about Back to School will be on there. And then if you guys want to follow my personal Twitter account, it is at Zimmy Games. And I haven't been super active on there here recently, but every now and then I do post some gaming news, or just some, like a personal tweet of what I'm up to, or, so on and so forth. But Boom, thank you so much, man, for the invite. I'm super happy I was able to jump in and talk about all these amazing topics that you had lined up for us.
Yeah, thank you so much, brother. And last and no way least, the one that brought the fire today, and he even got triggered, VJ. Well, thanks so much, brother. Tell everyone where they can reach out to you on social media. What else you got going on?
Not much, Boom. I'm going to chill out for the rest of the day, and as always,
are you going to go play? Are you going to go play some? What are you playing? What are you playing these days?
I'm playing Contrast, and I'm playing. Is it Telltales? A Walking Dead.
Nice, good choices.
I need something a little bit more relaxing after playing Elden Ring. My goodness.
And you go to Walking Dead?
No, it's just like, just read text and press a button. I don't have to sit there with my shield up and my sword and my magic and wondering.
Have you finished season 1 yet?
Hey?
Have you finished season 1 yet in The Walking Dead?
Yeah, I think I just finished the first season. Yeah. So
okay.
So yeah, I'm looking.
Oh, you know what? Real quick before Tay talks, good friend of the program, all the way from the other side of the pond. He dropped a £5 super chat, which I missed. So I'm incredibly embarrassed. He says, in relation to Boxenberger, if Avowed and Hellblade show up, should Starfield gameplay reveal be delayed until potentially next year or November? That's interesting. I would say yes. I would say at this point, if you were going to drop these two monster games in its place, they should take center stage, and Starfield should take a back seat. But that's my opinion.
I'm with you. I would love to see it but honestly, if they delayed it because they thought the game isn't ready to launch, and we have another Greg situation like with Halo Infinite, are they really going to show gameplay?
Yeah, that's super interesting. But again, I'm sure you can talk about that with King.
I think that they're going to show something of Starfield. I don't know if it will be gameplay. Yeah. It may be just a regular trailer, something like that. They are going to show something.
Because I expect an in-engine, an in-engine kind of story trailer, something like that. I expect, yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff. VJ, continue your outro, brother. Where can people find you on social media?
You can find me at Viewpoint Gaming on Twitter, and obviously as a guest or panel member on this show every Tuesday, and for which I'm really grateful for, Boom. And it was nice to see Zemi Gaines. It's been a while, and Boxenberger. It's nice to have him back as well. And hopefully we'll have it was a really cozy show today, but hopefully next week we'll have a full crew back together again. And,
we should have everyone back. But listen, big thank you to the 400 plus people here. I also want to say a big thank you to all the super chats that come in. As you know, they do power the giveaways that we do. Mr. Boomstick and I love giving back to the community. We've already did one big giveaway this year. We got 3 more coming, and we'll be making the announcements when it's appropriately timed. And of course, as the year gets bigger, the big one at the end of the year is going to be the most largest amount that we've ever given away. And we can't wait to do that. But thank you again for that. And of course, I'm going to close out today's show with something that's important to me, folks. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught me with kids. And he said, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules. And I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. We'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast.